What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is the Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 1, The Apostate. So, I've been having some difficulty with this recording session, so we're going to try this again for like the fifth time. But yeah, it's not a great episode, in my opinion. First of all, way too short for a starting episode. I know we've had shorter episodes in the past two seasons, but typically the first episode should be one of your longer ones because you've got to get the story going, you've got to get introduced to characters, new characters, reintroduced to characters, pick up where things left off. And it feels like they just sort of sped through a lot of this stuff. It feels like they're keeping things pretty small scale, in all honesty, based on the main story. And I just don't think that's a good choice for this season. And I'm not even sure if we're going to be getting another season of The Mandalorian. I think with the popularity it's gotten, I could see it lasting for a few more seasons, but who knows? Maybe they just wanted to make it a trilogy series. We'll see. But yeah, first of all, the main story. Not a fan of this decision. First of all, it's kind of backtracking on what we've seen before, at least from what I'm remembering. Maybe I'm misremembering it, but from what I saw in the book of Boba Fett, it felt like there was a separation between Mando and the cult. You know, I don't know what else to call them. That's just what Bo-Katan calls them. So, but it felt like there was starting to be a separation there. And now all of a sudden it's, no, I got to get cleansed so I can get back into the cult. And I just don't know if I agree with that. Like, first of all, maybe we shouldn't believe what Bo-Katan says, but it sounds like she's implying that they either had something to do with Mandalore being attacked or left Mandalore defenseless, basically, when they decided to leave the planet. So that already puts them in a bit of a bad light. And also, it feels like they're that group of people that is very stuck in their ways and are willing to ostracize people just because, oh, you didn't do this one thing that we want you to do. No, don't show your face. And well, it's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, I think about some cults that are very harmful. It doesn't feel like this cult is necessarily doing anything super harmful, and yet they're still stuck in their ways. They're still basically kicking Din Djarin out for something super small. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like this is a group that we should be rooting for him to get back into, and yet that's the story they presented us with so far. Maybe it'll change. It is only the first episode, but that seems to be, at least right now, what our focus is. And I'm just not a fan of that, unfortunately. So if that's where the season is going, again, maybe I'm misremembering, but I feel like this is similar to what Rise of Skywalker was, where after The Last Jedi, J.J. Abrams came back and was basically like, nope, rewrite, backtrack. We didn't mean any of that stuff that was said in The Last Jedi. That was Rian Johnson. That's kind of what it feels like happened here, where the writers on Book of Boba Fett took over. Like, we want to write something for Mandalorian. And then the Mandalorians came, saw what they did, and were like, nope, we're not doing that. We're going back to the cult. We want him to be in the cult. And it doesn't feel like it's been well handled. But outside of that, we also get introduced to these pirates. The pirate captain doesn't seem that interesting to me. Honestly, they were pretty easily defeated. You know, the pirates that Mando did face. It feels like the only advantage they have, first of all, they had the element of surprise on this one, and then also they had numbers on him, but even then, the numbers didn't seem to phase him too much. So they just don't feel like good antagonists. Hopefully, they're just the side antagonists that are going to be involved, but not really the main threat for this season. So fingers crossed there. I also have to look up and see, because I don't remember the voice actor for the captain, the pirate captain, did sound pretty familiar. So I'm gonna have to look that up and see in between this review and the next episode. But everything that happened on Navarro was pretty pointless. You know, goes in, tries to get the IG droid rebuilt. It turns on and resets to its default programming, which we as the audience have to be told, apparently. Because afterwards, Mando literally says that, almost like, hey, audience, did you know that it resetted to its default setting? And that's why it was trying to attack Grogu, because it was originally programmed to kill Grogu. Did you know that? I wanted to make sure I said that, so that way you knew. thanks, I'm so stupid. I didn't know that's what happened. I was like, what is he doing? Why is he crawling and trying to grab Goku? I'm so confused. And then the way it ended too, with the one droid pushing the statue on top of it after apparently Mando misses half of his shots somehow. But it crushes its head with the head of the statue, to which Mando responds, "Oh, that's what I call using your head." What are we, in a comedy now? What, did Taika Waititi take over directing and every scene has to end with some goofy one-liner? Like, what was that? Like, this show has been funny in the past. It's had funny moments in the past. It's never just turned into a straight-up comedy routine. That's what that whole scene was. Like, even the way the IG was moving on the ground, it was very goofy looking. Like, they could have been playing some Benny Hill music behind it and it would have fit way too well. So that whole scene was really dumb. The scene with whatever the little creatures call, I don't remember what they're, the one that was trying to fix the robot, the tiny one, that whole scene where Grogu was picking him up and stuff, and man was like, no, stop it, put him down. That one also felt very silly to me. Pointless. Also, was that the same character that showed up in Rise of Skywalker? I know it's the same type of creature, but was that the same character? Because if so, it does feel like Disney trying to be like, hey guys, remember these are all in the same universe, right? Like, those sequels were pretty good and we made those too, so these are all connected, and if you like this, that means you like the sequels too. I know that's not actually what they're trying to say, but that's what it feels like to me. Outside of that, it was pretty standard. Going to see Bo-Katan, she tells him that she's not going to help. She's pissed off about losing the Darksaber and all of that. The opening scene where the Mandalorians are bringing this kid into their fold. Am I the only one that thought that was actually supposed to be Din as a kid? And then all of a sudden he shows up as an adult and shoots the big alligator turtle thing. Am I the only one that thought that that was supposed to be his initiation into the group? Because that's where I thought they were going with it. And then when he showed up, I'm like, oh, so it was just some random kid? Okay. And I mean, it's been a while since I've seen the first two seasons, so maybe I should have known right off the bat that it wasn't him because it looks nothing like he did as a kid. But based on what I remember, it seemed like it looked similar to him. So I don't know. If I'm the only one that felt that way, maybe I'm just stupid. But it felt like they were setting it up to be this was his initiation, almost like this is how much it meant to him. This is why he's going to go back into the group, because they welcomed him into their family, and so that's why he wants to go. And then it turned into, nope, it was just some random kid and then he saved him. That's it. The final thing was the whales. I did like the inclusion of the hyperspace whales. I don't remember what they're actually called, but I don't know, I thought it was a nice little callback. I liked the story of the whales in Rebels, so to have them included I thought was a nice touch. But outside of that, it was just, again, it was kind of dull, boring. I'm not really that excited for this season right now. Maybe that'll change. Maybe it's a slow burn. Maybe it'll get better. But at the moment, I am not feeling that excitement that I felt from the first two seasons. And it's a little concerning that that is the case. So, but all that being said, on to the second episode. I'll see you there in just a minute. And now for episode 2, The Mines of Mandalore. This one was better. It's still not really sure where their season is going. It still feels like it's very focused on just Din trying to join back with the cult. And as far as that's concerned, I mean, I'm still not really on board. I still don't really understand why that's a thing. I haven't had a chance to go back and actually watch that episode from Book of Boba Fett yet, so still don't know if I'm misremembering that or not, but I don't know, it feels weird. And even in this episode, it feels like when he's talking to Bo-Katan, I like some of their back and forth, but there was a few moments where it seemed like they were implying, no, guys, look, see, even she's seeing that the way or whatever, that's the way. That's the way to do it. See? I mean, it's just, boom, there you go. And I feel like that's not what we've seen in the past. Bo-Katan was never seen as somebody that was, I don't know, wrong about the cult. It felt like she had her points. She had some good points about why the group that Mando's a part of is not necessarily dangerous, but they're not great. They're not the be all end all that he seems to think that they are, and even now seems to think that they are. So I'm still not very sure about the setup. I still don't really understand where this is going to go. I'd like to see maybe a coming together where maybe he is trying to put himself back in the group so that way he can show them that the way that they're doing things now is wrong, or maybe it's not as personable. I don't know. But yeah, I'm still very unsure about the main story this season. But this episode, it was well done. Very intense episodes, several jump scares for some reason. It was fine. I liked the setup. I liked the world building of Mandalore and what it looks like now. I do wish we'd maybe gotten a little bit more, because we did have Bo-Katan explain what the creatures were that first attacked, but we still have no idea what the mechanical looking... Oh, I like to consider it Grievous's zombie cousin, because that's kind of what it reminded me of. It was like General Grievous, but a lot less human-like. It was a lot more creepy and like it had been down there for maybe a few millennia and had gone crazy. But yeah, I mean that it was a cool design of a robot and his little thing that he was guiding. It was cool looking, but we have no idea what it was doing there. We didn't really get any explanation. It just all of a sudden jump scare, catches Mando, and then Bo-Katan comes back and defeats it, and then that's sort of all we get. It seemed like it was trying to drain Mando's blood. Don't know what that was about, and I don't think we ever will know. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, and then again the main story, everything else was perfectly fine. The ending was a little vague. So first of all, it is kind of funny to me the fact that his armor is just so heavy that as soon as he steps off the stairs, like he just falls all the way down to the bottom of this pond or whatever it is, lake. Something about that was kind of funny, because I was just like, oh crap, something grabbed him. And then she gets down there and he's just laying on the bottom. I'm like, oh no, he was just really heavy and sank. That's pretty funny. But as she's pulling him back up, she sees what I think is the creature that the myth or the legend describes as the ancient Mandalorian that captured it and tamed it or whatever, that the design is based off of. So I don't really understand. I guess for Bo-Katan, that just sort of confirms that it's not just a legend, it's not just myth, like there is some fact to it. But I don't really get it. Like, again, it feels like they're kind of pushing Bo-Katan toward she's about to join the way. Like, she's about to join this group that she considers a cult. And I don't really know how to feel about that again, because the group has not been the nicest. It's not been the most welcoming group. They're very standoffish. They're very narrow-minded, it seems. So the fact that they seem like they're making this group the good guys and the right way of thinking, and the one that Din wants to get back to, and the one that Bo-Katan should be agreeing with, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know if I'm missing something, but it just feels very odd. Anyways, that's about it for the second episode, so on to the third one. I'll see you there in a minute. And finally, episode 3, The Convert. Wow. Talk about most pointless episode, I think, that I've seen from The Mandalorian. That was the longest episode this season. That was the longest episode this season. And we spent it following the doctor that's doing the cloning stuff. And the thing is, some of it was kind of interesting. It was kind of interesting to see how the New Republic has set up everything. It's kind of similar to the Empire. They keep saying, oh, it's not the Empire. It's very much, I liken it to how, and spoilers for the Hunger Games, in case you haven't read the books, seen the movies, anything like that, but kind of how after, they managed to overthrow the government, they basically want to set up another Hunger Games to punish the government. And of course, for Katniss, it's like, well, that's just doing what they were doing to us. So we're becoming them. And so that's why she ends up killing the woman. So that's kind of, I think what they're implying is they're trying to take the people who were in the Empire and who were working for the Empire and sort of do to them what the Empire did to the people it was ruling over for so long. At least that's the gist of what I'm getting. But that's about the only interesting thing that came out of this. Everything else was, I mean, you could have predicted it in the first, 5 minutes of introducing. You've got the doctor, he's presenting his idea for cloning research, which of course gets turned down. You've got this girl who's working for Gideon, and she's like pretending she's, oh yeah, no, we're buddy. I'm here to help you. I'm here to be your friend. She's constantly trying to push him to go get his research and work on it. And the thing is, you can predict it in 5 minutes. It still takes, 45 minutes to get through all of that? To go from he's being rejected, he gets turned down, he's getting frustrated, she's trying to push him to do it, but she's not pushing too hard because if she did, it would look suspicious. So she's like slightly nudging him, but then eventually he gets to a point where he's getting too frustrated and just decides, you know what, now's the time. And it just takes so long to get through all of this. And then even whenever he does pick up the stuff, you can see there's a noise, and she's like, oh, it's probably nothing. Why are you even trying to act like you're not about to turn him in? Or I honestly assumed that it was going to be like, I don't know what happened to Gideon, but I kind of figured it was going to be him. But just the fact that she decided to turn him in, I don't know. I don't know exactly what her plan is. I'm assuming it was to get the research to either have it destroyed so that nobody else can use it, or it's to give it to somebody. Because even though I thought The Bad Batch was going to be the show tackling how Palpatine cloned himself and created Snoke, I guess it's going to be this show that tackles it, maybe? I don't know. At this point, I kind of just don't care. Because I spent so damn long in this episode listening to this doctor talk about his research, talk about how, oh, it's going to help people. And it's just one of those things where, yeah, sometimes inventions help. But if the wrong people get their hands on it, it can hurt. And sometimes we need to think about the ramifications of what we're creating. It's AI. Again, I actually talked about this during my Final Fantasy 16 Let's Play, but AI is something that, yeah, it sounds good on paper. It does make our lives easier in some way. But there have been stories, movies, books, all of this stuff written about why AI is dangerous, and yet people don't seem to think about what could happen if the wrong people get their hands on it. So, yeah, it felt like one long episode leading to a very predictable, obvious conclusion, and that's exactly what it was. On the outside of it, the very beginning, the first 3 to 5 minutes, and then the final 3 to 5 minutes, we've got Bo-Katan and Din being chased away by the Empire, or I guess the remnants of the Empire, I suppose. Yeah, and that, I don't know. Again, at the end, it shows Bo-Katan is now technically a part of their group, and it kind of feels like she's okay with that. Again, I must have missed some sort of subtext in either season 2 or in the Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian season 2.5. I must have missed some sort of subtext as to why being a part of this group and the ideals of this group are such an amazing thing, because it really did feel like everything that I saw before showed them to be narrow-minded, very secluded, not wanting to reach out and talk. And honestly, I mean, for Bo-Katan, on the one hand, I can see how being accepted into the group might feel great for her after everything she's lost. But at the same time, her whole ideal of wanting all of Mandalore to come together won't work if she's a part of this group, because as far as this group is concerned, everybody else is wrong. They're the ones that are right. So everybody else from Mandalore, all the other technically Mandalorians that are from the planet of Mandalore, they can all go screw themselves because they don't follow the way anymore. So they're not actually Mandalorian. That's not a great way of thinking. And yet they're painting them as if, no, guys, this group is good. We should want to be a part of this group. We should be happy that now Din and Bo-Katan are both part of this group again because they bathed in the waters. Yeah. How does that make sense? So, I don't know. I don't know where it's going. This episode just really frustrated me. by far my least favorite episode. I do know there's at least one episode in the season. We haven't gotten to it yet. I know it has a guest star that I'm not really looking forward to. That might be worse only because of that guest star, but I mean, this one for sure, narratively speaking, the characters in this, the plot, the main story moving forward, none of it made any sense. It was way too predictable. Honestly, it kind of made me feel like the writers think the audience is stupid. Like, we're not going to suspect that this girl that worked for Gideon is working against this guy. The way she's pushing him, but not really. It's so obvious. So why do we have to spend so much time on this story when everybody who watched this show, I would hope, would know exactly what's going on? Like, I was so hopeful that maybe by the end of it, it was going to be, one of the other guys that he met at the beginning was going to turn out to be, they were actually the turncoat the whole time, just so it wouldn't be so predictable. But nope, it was exactly what I expected. They leave the girl in there unattended, even though there's all this dangerous equipment. Nobody's around for some odd reason. Also, the one dude, I can't remember what the name of the species is. It's the same species as Admiral Akbar, which don't miss the fact that they threw in it was a trap joke. It was a trap, get it? It's a trap. And the guy right there, he's the same species as Admiral Akbar, so it's funny. What was the performance, though, from that guy? I mean, first of all, the voice he was putting on was very much just a normal. It was like it was somebody trying to sound like he was doing a goofy voice the whole time. It didn't sound like a real person. It sounded like somebody talking to their kid, like, and then the big bad man said, blah, 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 blah. Like, that's what it sounded like to me. Like, director, could we get some better voice direction, please? Because that was awful. But yeah, not a good episode, not a good one, and it does concern me because out of the first three, we've had a meh episode, a pretty good episode, and then a pretty bad episode. That's not a good from where season 1 and 2 were. It's definitely not where I want to be right now. It is not the Mandalorian that I've come to expect. It's getting closer to like Obi-Wan territory. So yeah, I think that's about it, though. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on these 3 episodes? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Mandalorian reviews. Until next time, I hope you guys have a great day. I will talk to you all later. Peace out.